Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Joe Lisi, I'm Kevin Walsh. As we get you set for the start of the NFL season, we're talking awards today, Joe. MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Coach of the Year.
Ooh.
Will you go 3 for 3 on picking Cardinals? A lot of excitement.
There is. And how many LSU players could we talk about in one segment? Joe Burrow, Jaden Daniels, Malik Neighbors, Justin Jefferson. I mean, you want me to go through the list? Brian Thomas? I mean, amazing.
Yeah, a little light at running back.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire. How about that one?
There are a lot of interesting ways you can start to attack the awards market throughout the NFL. But I think for so many people, they will begin at the MVP award because it could have similarities to the NBA. The Lamar Jackson, Nikola Jokic MVP cases and paths are quite similar, Joe. As somebody who thought Josh Allen deserved the league MVP last year, I got to tell you, every time I look at the Lamar numbers, I'm not sure I agree with myself. 41 touchdowns, 4 picks, with 1,000 on the ground nearly. I mean, the thing is, I think the reason Lamar has moved so far ahead of this field, and tell me if you agree, is simply because of how close he came to winning it last year without actually winning it.
Right, and when we talk about dominance, right, 2 years ago when they were number one seed in the AFC and they lose to Kansas City, you know, he had a dynamic season. Yeah. But last year, everybody expected Baltimore to be that team, and they couldn't live up to expectations. Josh Allen and that team challenged the Kansas City Chiefs. You can make the argument that Lamar had much better numbers, but Josh Allen was the most valuable player for the Buffalo Bills last year, and that's why they made it to the championship game. And quite honestly, I think it was deserving. I think it was deserving over Lamar. And at the end of the day, they're both going to do battle this year, and we'll see how this plays out.
I think one of the reasons, though, where I found myself, and I know this, leaning to Josh in season, this stuff is relevant. Lamar didn't deserve league MVP 2 seasons ago despite winning it. And I will maintain that for a long time. You can look at Lamar Jackson's other, last season, his other MVP season. It's not the same caliber of year. So we have seen prior success in the market, Joe, have a negative impact. And we'll start, Burrow, Mahomes, Daniels. We'll get to all these guys. Josh Allen is a non-factor for me in this market. I don't see Josh Allen having, unless the Buffalo Bills are the number 1 seed by a good margin, I think it's going to be incredibly tough for Josh to win league MVP.
And that's what we said about Lamar Jackson in terms of back-to-back years, right? Entering last year, you can make the argument Joe Burrow at the start of the year, Pat Mahomes, and everybody was talking up Josh Allen. There's no shot for Lamar to win potentially back-to-back, and he was still in the running. I agree with you with Josh Allen. I mean, we talk about team success. 11.5 is the win total, right? Dominant favorites now to win the AFC East. I don't expect them to be challenged in any way, shape, or form. Can they be, though, a 14 or 15-win football team? If they can, Kev, Josh Allen is going to be in the conversation. Now, they just re-signed James Cook to a long-term deal. That should help this team as it relates to the rushing attack. They're going to need to run the football to have success. But being a 14-win football team early on, I just don't see it.
Let's talk about the other, we'll call it trio at the top, because Daniels is closer to Lamar than he is Justin Herbert. Burrow, Mahomes, and Jaden. Of the three, whose case are you most interested in?
I think it would be Burrow. At 6-1 for me, thinking about what he did last year, 43 touchdowns through the air, one of the most dynamic offenses that we've seen. If they can start fast, and that's a big question mark. 5.5-point week 1 favorites over Cleveland. That's not a gimme type of game. But if they could start 2-0, 3-0, I want to see Joe Burrow potentially throw for 50, maybe 55 touchdown passes and blow the 5,000-yard passing yards mark through the door. I want to see him put up huge numbers with Jamar Chase in that offense.
So Mahomes is interesting to me because this has been an interesting offseason. Because all of a sudden, Crazy Kev, who kept acknowledging how underwhelming Mahomes was.
Yeah.
Have you had your ear to the ground, Joe? Because now all the talk shows lead with, can the Chiefs figure it out? Can the Chiefs find their mojo? Will the Chiefs' offense be back? Oh, be back. So we admit it was gone. We admit that Patrick Mahomes, despite being seen as the best quarterback in the world, ripped off consecutive seasons of pedestrian numbers. That's what happened. He went from 41 passing touchdowns and 5,200 yards to under 30 passing touchdowns and hardly cracking the 4,000-yard marker. And 1 year missed that marker.
Yeah, you're right. And I'll agree with you in this assessment. He was more of a game manager last year than he was in any other year in his tenure in Kansas City. But that being aside, you have Marquise Brown potentially coming back, right? Xavier Worthy could be that guy. Rashee Rice going to miss some time, but he looks healthy in training camp. If Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy are the players that Worthy was when he caught 2 touchdowns against your Philadelphia Eagles, 150 yards, and Rashee Rice is the same player before the injury, they could put up dynamic numbers, and I expect Pat Mahomes to challenge for 4,000 yards. The problem with the Chiefs, and even though they had Kareem Hunt and Pacheco at the end of the regular season, they cannot run the football consistently. If they have a rushing attack that could put up 150 rushing yards per game, Mahomes can challenge over the 4,000-yard number. I still think he's going to do it this year. I don't think they're a 13 or a 14-win football team. So if you take that into account, would you buy the 650 with Mahomes? I wouldn't.
Yeah, I agree with you because the record's going to be worse. So I imagine even a statistical improvement won't be enough to make up in this race. Here's where I'll use Jaden Daniels. Lamar Jackson in his sophomore season wins league MVP. It was the second year of Mahomes. I understand first year as a starter, he wins league MVP. Jaden Daniels would look to continue that same trajectory. But if you want to take legitimate down-the-board shots in the MVP market, I mean, you have 6 sophomore quarterbacks. Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, Bo Nix, Drake May, Michael Penix, and J.J. McCarthy. There are a lot of options here and a lot of big prices connected to those names.
There are, but I wouldn't bet any of them outside of Jaden Daniels. I just don't think the teams are going to have that much success for them to win the MVP. I just don't think it. Now, the bullseye's on Jaden Daniels' back. I mean, they're expected to be a 12 or a 13-win football team. I think there is a little bit of regression. I think they can be a 10 or an 11-win football team potentially, but they're playing in the NFC East. What do you get out of Debo this year? Can the rushing attack with Robinson and the running back by committee make up for Jaden Daniels if he's not on his A game? And the other factor is when I look down the board, Kev, you have players like Jalen Hurts, 20-1. I mean, 20. I don't think Philadelphia is going to run as much and rely on Saquon. That's a great number. What about Baker Mayfield? I'm just saying, Baker can challenge 45, potentially 5,000 yards. He's loaded at the wide receiver position. If they win yet another NFC South crown and they make it, let's say, second or third team in the playoffs, he can be there.
Yeah, I find the entire MVP race to feel open if you haven't found yourself married to one of those first 4 guys. Because then it starts to fly down that board. You mentioned Philly maybe not running as much this coming season. Well, Saquon Barkley, the reigning offensive player of the year, is currently favored to repeat. Maybe that means the wrong player is favored in that market. We'll discuss next. It's Pro Football Today.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Vegas knows how to celebrate, If you're headed to Vegas for your birthday, plan ahead to get all the birthday freebies the city has to offer. Just by showing your ID, you could get free cash play, scratch cards, drinks, and food at various venues on the Strip. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
He said that was his decision, not a smart baseball play. Like, shut up, Dave. Like, you know what I mean? Like, really. If Ohtani wants to steal third base on his own, let him steal third base on his own, bro. Like, he's Shohei Ohtani. He made the call. He was wrong. He was out. Okay. I wouldn't have called him out for him.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Multiple times on 18 today. It was just so wild. I mean, the distances, JJ hit it to the exact same spot. He had 30 feet, 36 feet, and 30 feet, and made the second playoff hole, the 30-footer there. And then they go to recut the hole,
which I like. I like that, by the way.
Oh, I thought it was great, but I'm like, dude, he might hole out from the fairway. Like, they cut the hole where he's hit every single approach shot.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
What would you tell the people right now, though? Like, okay, I like the Rams heading into the season, but I'm not sure about Matthew Stafford because people want to get their bets in. People want their team totals. People want to bet week number 1 here. So what's your prognosis on the Rams? We'll talk long-term in a second. Week number 1. Are we just going to say, like, yeah, he's ready. Bullets are flying. He looks great out there because he is a tough dude. But again, a back injury for a quarterback trying to get all that torque on passes, usually not good.
The Early Line, only on
Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey, Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, Derrick Henry, and Michael Thomas. The last 6 players to win Offensive Player of the Year. The season before that went to Pat Mahomes. That's the last time we've seen a quarterback win Offensive Player of the Year. A shift has come in this market where it seems to be understood this award goes to the best non-quarterback in the league, which I'm totally fine with. Just like I'm fine with the MVP being a quarterback award. It's the most valuable position in football. So now we take a look after, in this 6-year run, getting 3 wide receivers and 3 running backs and try and find an edge. Lisi, tell me, where do you see some value in the Offensive Player of the Year market?
Well, I'm going to go back to a usual suspect, Derrick Henry, at 14-1. I mean, come on, 1,956 yards. He had 16 rushing touchdowns. If we're talking about team success and we talk about Lamar Jackson and the passing attack, we know that they want to run the football with Derrick Henry. If they could get him involved in the receiving game a little bit more, I mean, it could be potentially a 2,000-yard rusher, similar to what we saw out of Saquon Barkley. And if they have a run at the playoffs, I think he'll be there. The other running back that I think I'll go to is Bijan Robinson. We talk about team success for Atlanta. Now, can Atlanta be an 11, 12, 13-win football team with Michael Penix? That remains to be seen. But if they rely on the rushing attack with Bijan Robinson, 1,400 yards, he had 61 receptions last year, Kev. I mean, if they could utilize him like that, and he puts up 1,700 yards on the ground and maybe duplicates, let's say, 2,500 yards combined, I mean, that's a dynamic effort. A 16-1 is great value.
The thing for me is I am starting to feel like I don't need to go too far to find value. Occasionally, right? If you just think the wrong guy is favored, that opens a window of opportunity. And I mentioned the last 6 to win it all, different players. Right? So not anybody winning it for a second time in that window, but nobody's gone back-to-back. It's very, very hard to imagine. Now, you could use that to make a case against Jamar Chase, in that Chase had such a good case last year. Saquon runs for 2,000. Jamar Chase went for a Triple Crown. But Jamar Chase didn't win it last year and is still set up in such an incredible position with the Cincinnati Bengals. And I went into something last year. T. Higgins, Joe, missed 5 full games. And I thought, Was that the difference maker in Chase's big season? And here's the incredible thing as I went through those 5 games. His receiving totals in 4 of those games, 35, 43, 54, 62. 4 of his worst games came without T. Higgins. Now, he had a 264-yard game on a Thursday night with T out of the lineup, and I don't think that happens with T around, but it gives you an idea that Chase actually, with T there, was playing incredible and averaging over 100 yards per game. Chase, to me, is he 100% going to win it, Joe? I don't know if I'm there yet. He should be the favorite in this market.
He should, and we talked about Tyreek Hill a couple of years ago when he was on pace for potentially 2,000 yards. He could be Offensive Player of the Year as well, right? And he was the front runner for the award, right?
Yeah.
Up until week 13, 14, and then he fell off a cliff. But I agree with you. I mean, Jamar Chase can put up dynamic numbers this year, can lead the league in the NFL in receiving yards and touchdowns, and even potentially receptions. So I don't have a problem betting him at 9-1. But then let's take that assessment of Jamar Chase and let's put it for deep shots. Can you make – and I agree with you. The reason why when we talk about just success from a wide receiver, you want to have a complementary piece, a number 2, right, to take the double teams away so that way you could get open. Well, Brian Thomas now has Travis Hunter at 35-1. That's not a bad shot. That's something that I would buy into. Now, can he challenge for 2,000 yards? Probably not. But if he overachieves in terms of that, yeah. How about A.J. Brown, 40-1?
I think it's going to – you could sell me on Thomas more than A.J.
I'm just saying value.
But let me say this with Thomas. Basically, last 5 or so weeks of the season, only Chase outperformed Brian Thomas Jr., and that was without Trevor Lawrence,
right,
for the record. Now, it is important to know team success is a part of this award. You are not going – it's why I can tell, by the way, ear to the ground style, learn from Lisi. A lot of people think the Minnesota Vikings are still real good. Not me. I think Justin Jefferson, as long as the hamstring holds up, is going to have a huge year. I'm not worried about – J.J. McCarthy can get in the ball. I can get in the ball. Lisi can get Justin Jefferson the ball, all right? I don't think Minnesota has enough team success.
I agree with you.
So that is a big part of figuring this out. Like, Nico Collins' name is up there. Nico, with no Tank Dell, no Stephon Diggs, Nico going to have a great year. That Houston offensive line, I don't know if Houston is good enough overall, right? And that then becomes tricky to bet. CeeDee Lamb, another one. Team success is going to matter here, Joe.
It absolutely is, and that's why when you look at Tyreek Hill, I can't buy into the Tyreek Hill. I think Miami's going to be the worst team in the AFC East. He might be checked out by week number 7, so that is the concern. I'll throw some other guys out there. I mean, Jonathan Taylor, to me, is interesting because the situation at quarterback, 42-1. If he has that type of year, let's say he rushes for 1,800 yards, 19 touchdowns, catches another 30 passes, puts up a combined 2,200 yards, and the team is, I don't know, 11-5, 11-6.
Yeah.
At 42-1, does he have a shot?
I'm glad you brought up Taylor because this is the one thing I can't help myself when it comes to this award, right? Being cognizant of how I set it up.
You just don't like Daniel Jones.
No. Hold on. I always find myself looking at the quarterbacks longer than I should. What if a quarterback does something historic and different that gets them in the race? And it would be one of the runners. What if Anthony Richardson has a 15 rushing touchdown season? Let's go crazy. What if this is the last year of the tush push and the Eagles get Jalen Hurts 20 rushing touchdowns? Could that get a guy, maybe not MVP,
right,
Offensive Player of the Year?
It's possible. It really is. You know, at 20 rushing touchdowns, Jalen Milroe in college.
All right, hold on. I got some work to do here, baby. Defensive Player of the Year. It's next.
Want to play roulette? here's a tip. European roulette has a lower house edge than American style. The lower the house edge, the better shot you have at winning. Most online casinos offer European roulette. So, if I were you, I'd get spinning. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
This is the moment every fan waits for. The countdown's over. The road to kickoff has begun.
Play is here to stay.
I'm not going to name names, Kevin.
From win totals to player props, from division races to MVP debates, we've got eyes on every camp and data feeding 24/7, breaking down every angle across the league. Every pick, every edge, every line that matters. SportsGrid. Your road to kickoff starts now.
Justin Rose has done it so many times in his career. That's like he's so good at everything. There's nothing that he's bad at. Every part of his game is at close to a elite level when it's good. And so when he had it going on this week, he's not scared, dude. When he gets that look in his eye, watch out.
The Smiley Show, only on
If you don't like getting hit, you can't do BKFC point blank.
Oh, absolutely. Like in the MMA world, you have opportunities to negate getting hit more so than BKFC. You can get a takedown, you can secure a dominant position where you're less likely to get hit, and even if you are getting hit, you're less damaging because of your position.
Combat Sports Report, only on SportsGrid.
Pro Football Today, Kevin Walsh and Joe Lisi, an NFL awards preview. We just talked Offensive Player of the Year. You know what that means? Defensive Player of the Year is right around the corner. And the reality with the Defensive Player of the Year market, Joe, is very typically we're looking for pass rushers. Guys that get after the quarterback, maybe a linebacker. I feel usually we look past the secondary. Until last year, Pat Surtain of the Denver Broncos ends up winning this award. So I don't want to start anywhere else. And this is an award you can win back-to-back, right? You can rip off a couple of these. Look at, thinking about J.J. Watt, for example. Pat Surtain is 33-1, the same as his teammate, Nick Bonito. I got to listen, no slander to Nicky B and not Nick Bo. Come on now. The guy who won the awards 33-1?
Well, I mean, team success. Team success. They had a playoff run. I mean, think about it.
There's some people hot on this Denver. I don't know where you're at. Hot on this Denver.
Very hot. Right. I don't know if they make it back to the playoffs. Yeah. That's a conversation for another day. But Pat Surtain was one of the best defensive player on that team. He elevated that unit. When you talk about being opportunistic, creating turnovers, leading your team, they had one of the better defenses heading into the playoffs in the AFC. Pat Surtain was a lockdown corner and a lockdown player for them. 33-1. I probably would throw a lottery ticket on that just because, hey, he's a dominant player. He stepped up, and obviously the team can be in a playoff type of run, but I still would go somewhere else. I mean, I would throw money on Hamilton, Kyle Hamilton at 50-1.
I don't hate that.
To me, we know he's a ball hawk. We know that Baltimore's going to be in the mix.
Playing next to Starks out of Georgia, the rookie, could be beneficial, open up some opportunities for him.
I'll throw one more, and I know he's not a edge rusher, but Jalen Carter at 22-1. I mean, if they're gonna make a run at back-to-back titles, Jalen Carter's gonna have a fantastic year. If we're talking tackles for loss, just a dominant player in the middle, 22-1 for the best player on that defensive front.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, though, because, and I think it's good that we're talking down the board DPOY, because Surtain certainly would have fit that description as a, down the board type of guy, Joe. I wonder, is this an award that we can start to zag on a little bit, right? Like, let's go a little bit crazier. What about Quinyon Mitchell on the Philadelphia Eagles? You mentioned Philadelphia. What if all of a sudden we get a cornerback award. I think Christian Gonzalez in New England's really good. I think the Pats can have a really nice defense this year with Mike Vrabel. Does that speak to you?
It does.
A little bit?
It does, but that's when you brought up Mitchell, you're a homer with the
What do you mean? Whoa!
He's a dynamic player, and I obviously...
You want me to bring up Eugene?
No, I'm just saying, because I'm going to go homer now because on a team that I'm high on, when you said defensive back, I looked at Sauce Gardner at 75 to 1. I did. Because Sauce has that star power. I think he is going to elevate his game this year. I am high on the Jets, like I've mentioned on numerous shows, to be a 9.5 or a potential 10-win football team in that area, 9 or a 10-win. And if that's the case, similar to Denver, and Sauce steps up with, I don't know, I'll just throw it out, 7, 8 interceptions, that leads that defense, and they're a top 10 unit again under Aaron Glenn. I'm just saying, 75 to 1 has some legs.
I'll mention the Texas two-pack then with Will Anderson and Derek Stingley Jr. The trick of this is, can you find defenses that are supposed to be really, really, really good? And I know I didn't speak super favorably of this group in our most recent segment when it pertains to Nico Collins winning Offensive Player of the Year. But if this team is going to repeat as AFC South champions and get back to the playoffs and maybe be in another year better, it's because Will Anderson Jr. and Derek Stingley are another year better.
Oh, look at the playoffs. It was Will Anderson's team, right? Will Anderson was the main reason why they made it and challenged the Kansas City Chiefs in the divisional round. They beat up Justin Herbert because of Will Anderson in that front seven. So that's what you want to see. I think he'll be there, and I think it's a pretty good choice. I don't like any of the front runners. Obviously, Mike, I don't think team success. Aiden with the injury, I'm always concerned. TJ at the end of his career, not high on Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh. So that's why I can't look. Verse is interesting, but now with the situation with Stafford, you throw him out of the window.
And I wonder, does a Myles Garrett, what does Myles Garrett have to do on a potential 4-win football team? Win Defensive Player of the Year. 20 sacks?
Yeah, something crazy like that. He needs to have a dynamic year.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting to follow. And some of these Defensive Player of the Years, it could certainly, we talk team success, tie into the Coach of the Year market where nothing matters more than team success. That's next.
The Mets are a game and a half up in the wild card race from the Cincinnati Reds. But the Cincinnati Reds are 16 to 1, Joe. 60 to 1 to win the pennant here. But I do find myself looking at the New York Mets saying, there's too much talent on that team, and we know how things work out, even with the Philadelphia Phillies in the playoffs last year. Hey, we're a good baseball team. Mets get hot at the end of the year. Mets knock the Phillies out of the playoffs. We've seen that happen before.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Jalen Lane, fourth-round receiver from Virginia Tech, who's a dynamic slot receiver. Run after the catch. He's had a phenomenal camp. Really great offseason. He is really gifted. And obviously with McLaurin not practicing, he's getting a lot more of a look. Right. Now, the problem is, without McLaurin, they're not very deep at the outside receiver position. But Jalen Lane is a stud talent. I'm telling you, this kid should have gone higher.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
He's going to regress a little potentially in touchdowns, but his role's not going to change. There's no other superstar on this team besides Josh Allen. So to me, James Cook, they need James Cook if the Buffalo Bills are going to repeat in that division again. They need him to be that guy in the offense because there isn't another star around Josh Allen. So James Cook is as close as it gets. I'm sorry. It's not Khalil Shakir. It doesn't look like it's ever going to be Keon Coleman or Dalton Kincaid.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid. This is the moment every fan waits for. The countdown's over. The road to kickoff has begun.
Play is here to stay.
I'm not going to name names, Kevin.
From win totals to player props, from division races to MVP debates, we've got eyes on every camp and data feeding 24/7, breaking down every angle across the league. Every pick, every edge, every line that matters. SportsGrid. Your road to kickoff starts now.
football today, taking a look at the Coach of the Year race, where it would be silly to talk about any other names to start than the first two. Ben Johnson, newly hired by the Chicago Bears, and Mike Vrabel, newly hired by the New England Patriots. And the reason that those are the first two names is because you have two teams who are now being met with a lot of expectations. And if these teams meet those expectations, we talk credit pie here on this network, Joe, the amount that will be put towards either Vrabel or Ben Johnson is massive. Simply put, just being not the guy prior. New England was not very happy with Gerard Mayo. They were a bit of a mess. And Matt Eberflus, my, oh my, were they not happy in Chicago. Like, quite frankly, the Bears could be a defensive team, and I think people will be like, Ben Johnson made those guys figure it. Like, they don't even care what he's there for. If you're in on either the Bears or the Pats, you can't ignore these two new coaches in their new situations.
You can't, but I'll say the only one that has higher expectations is Mike Vrabel, that has a higher win total of 7.5 than Gerard Mayo had last year at 4.5, 5 in that area. Ben Johnson has the exact same win total at the start of the year that Matt Eberflus had with Caleb Williams last year.
Yeah.
So the expectation is to get over that, 9-8, be a wild card team, challenge for potentially, the division title with Detroit and some of the other teams like Green Bay there in Minnesota, and develop Caleb to a point where he's ready to be a star in the making. Now, we saw that at certain periods last year. You could throw out the game against Minnesota where they came from behind in Soldier Field and challenged the Vikings in that matchup. You said, wow, that's the player that we thought. That's what Ben Johnson is priced at plus 650. I'm not betting any of those. I'm down on New England, and I just think there's a lot of pressure on Ben, and he's calling out everybody in the division without coaching a game yet. You better hit the ground running, guy. I'll just say that. The two guys that I look to, Liam Cohen with Jacksonville, 10-1, I think has great value, and Pete Carroll at 14-1. And I'll just say, Carroll elevated Tampa Bay they had one of the worst rushing offenses a couple of years ago after taking over for Canales. They average $140 on the ground with Rashad White and the balance with Bucky Irvin. If you can get that out of Tank Bigsby and ETN, they could have a dynamic offense. And Brian Thomas and Hunter, you could get the most out of that team. And Pete Carroll, and I'll say this, and I've said it time and time again, when everybody was selling Pete Carroll with the 5.5 win total and thought he was going to be bottom half, the worst team in the NFL, he led that team with Geno Smith to a 9-8 record and made it to the playoffs. And he had a lower win total than Brian Dable that led his team to a playoff win. He should have won Coach of the Year. If he gets Las Vegas to 9-8 at 14-1, he has a shot.
I think one of the interesting things, though, right, and those are solid cases on Carroll and Cohen, but here's the trend. Johnson, Vrabel, Cohen, Carroll, and Aaron Glenn, all these guys at the top, new hires. It is not automatic this goes to a new hire.
No.
So 2017, Sean McVay won it in his first year in Los Angeles, and it snapped about a 5-year run of the award not going to a brand new hire. And then it was McVay, Nagy, Harbaugh wins it, and Stefanski. So it was 3 out of 4. Mm-hmm. We then see Vrabel win it. Then comes Brian Dable. That's a new hire. But the last two were Kevin Stefanski and Kevin O'Connell. It is not automatic to me. It goes to a brand new guy. The reason so frequently is this award is about beating expectations and improvement. And if a team is just better, it's got to be the new coach. It's got to be the new coach. I'll say, though, and the Rashawn Slater injury doesn't help, but I probably won't be changed enough to stop myself from picking the Chargers to win the AFC West.
Not a bad
And if somebody finally beats Andy Reid and the Chiefs in the AFC West, I think Jim Harbaugh at 20-1 is going to be live in this market, Joe.
No, it's a great point. And you talk about it, he overexceeds expectations. He gets to a playoff game, loses that game, but now you build up for year number 2. Now, the injury to Slater's huge, but you got Amari and Hampton there. You have Najee Harris that looks to be rejuvenated coming from Pittsburgh. Justin Herbert, can he win a playoff game? Can we get that? Everything is there for Harbaugh. But I'll just say this, and, we talk about Sirianni not getting credit. We talk about, Andy Reid. When is Andy Reid going to win it, right? It's just expected. Sean McDermott was never mentioned Coach of the Year. So what happens, though, if Nick Sirianni has this team again? Well, we talk expectation, though, Kev.
Yeah.
So why is it that Sean McVay wins it when he wins a Super Bowl with Stafford, and they were the front runners that year to potentially win it, and we don't mention some of these other guys?
Here's what I would say the case on McVay. If Stafford missed a lot of time, because they can still be good with Garoppolo, he will get a lot of credit. I believe McVay.
No. I agree with you. What I'm saying is when he won a Super Bowl, right?
The Coach of the Year he won was when he first got there with Goff.
When they challenged for a Super Bowl.
I'll say this though, Lise. You see those first names and they're all new coaches, and I don't think either of us love either team this year. But it automatically would suggest then the 30-1s on Kellen Moore with New Orleans and Brian Schottenheimer in Dallas. I'm sorry, and I know you're going to disagree with this, but the Cowboys have higher expectations than the Jets.
Yes.
So if Brian Schottenheimer and Dallas go out there and connect on those expectations, he's got a better shot to win this than Aaron Glenn.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. I just don't think they get over 8 wins. I think they're going to be a 5-12 football team. But then let's take the other side. Then, if that's your case, then Dan Campbell. And I understand they're supposed to be good, but you lose your OC, you lose your DC. If they go 14-3, isn't he mentioned in the conversation?
I don't think it's a bad shout. I think it's going to be tough because the unfortunate thing for him is they're 13-4. They're worse. So you kind of chalk. You go, see.
But then Dable would be your pick. You're high on them. You told me you love Russ.
I was trying to get out.
I know. You told me you love Russ. Pull the trigger. Take the 30-1.
Listen, it's worth a look. Shane Steichen, 27-1. Do anything for you?
No, but
why not? You like Daniel Jones.
I do.
You gotta.
I like. You know what? It is worth it. I was looking even further. I feel like DeMeco Ryans gets no credit. He should have won it when Stefanski won it with Flacco. He really should. He wins the division. He wins a playoff game, beats Stefanski, and the guy gets no credit.
The funny thing is with crazy. That year, he was the favorite. Everybody thought he was going to win it. And I maintain it should have been Steichen. And I know they missed the playoff.
Right.
He had a whole year of Gardner Minshew. And listen,
he's a winner.
Aside from you and the other knucklehead telling me that Steichen's set up for success. Who better? Minshew mania, backing up Mahomes now, by the way.
Yeah. Well,
all right.
They said he made a throw in camp, and they said Mahomes system quarterback.
I mean, I can't believe Wentz lost out on the job. Minshew. I look at this Coach of the Year market, and
go ahead. I'm just looking. Well, why is Todd Bowles 50-1? Like I'm just saying, like. They've won 4 straight.
But
NFC
you have
South.
To be better. You have to think they could be a 12-13 win team.
Okay, but what if they are?
Yeah.
But they have that potential now. They are loaded at the wideout position.
Yeah,
assuming Evans and Godwin are healthy.
Here's what I would say, and this is where you try and figure out how you want to play these. But if Kevin Stefanski and Todd Bowles have the same number to win Coach of the Year, there's value on Todd Bowles. Todd Bowles has a way better chance to win Coach of the Year than Kevin Stefanski for a third time. A third time. What is this guy going to win every other year? This guy, Ron Rivera? Comeback Player of the Year and the big hog mollies up front getting some love.
Can't get thrown out like that. You just can't.
It's the only thing he's good at is yelling at umpires.
Yeah.
Other than that, he has no feel for the game, no grasp of the game, no idea how to manage a bullpen, no idea how to write up a lineup card. He certainly has no feel for high leverage spots and who to bring in. Devin Williams. There's nothing he does well other than scream and yell at the umpires.
In-game live only on SportsGrid.
Tigers aren't out of first place. They're still in first place, Tom, by 5 games over the Cleveland Guardians. But you see, last 10 games, Detroit Tigers 5-5. Last 10 games, Guardians. Winners of 9 of 11 games, winners of 5 straight games. They're only 5 back now than the Kansas City Royals, sitting at 8.5 back. The Detroit Tigers, so much fun this year, but now facing adversity with a month and a half left in the season.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
He is not Derrick Henry. He is not one of those special backs in that sense. A really good one that's been outstanding in fantasy for quite some time. But you can also hear the buzz recently about it being more of a split backfield. And if that's so, then Aaron Jones' value takes a hit, Jordan Mason's value goes up, and there's an opportunity at some point, if Aaron Jones misses time, where you can see Jordan Mason take that backfield over.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
The Yankees have an 80.7% chance of still making the playoffs. That just tells you that parity is alive and well in Major League Baseball, where mediocre teams can still make the playoffs, and the Yankees are mediocre but have above mediocre talent. So if they can put it together, you still got an 80% chance of playing postseason baseball.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Comeback Player of the Year award that I almost feel at some point the NFL might do away with. Maybe not. But last year in the middle of the year, they basically had to put out a statement that was, hey, Sam Darnold's not winning this. You can't come back from being bad. There has to be actually something that takes you away from the game aside from your talent. It didn't stop sportsbooks, by the way, Joe, from posting Darnold as the favorite for much of the year in this market. This year looks a little different. It's injury-riddled players at the top, like Aiden Hutchinson, Dak Prescott, and Christian McCaffrey. What do you make of the comeback player of the year market?
Well, it's a tough market to cap because what is a comeback, right? You know, are they coming back from, like you said, a major injury? And they have J.J. McCarthy that hasn't even played a regular season down at 9-1. What's he coming back from? He hasn't played yet. As far as, I mean, it's crazy. You know, you look at it is though. What's he coming back from? I understand the ACL, but we have no body of work. We have one preseason game. Give it to JJ. You know, he went 5-12. He started all 17 games. All 3 of these teams have, when you look at Hutchinson, Prescott, and McCaffrey, they all have playoff aspirations. Which player can come back and be productive to lead that team? Out of the favorites, it would be Dak and it would be McCaffrey. I know that Hutchinson is the front runner and chalky, but I can't.
I see Hutchinson. He's like an automatic 10-sack guy. Like he's the safest bet by far.
Yeah, but if Christian McCaffrey comes back and rushes for 50,
aren't you worried about? See,
I am worried. I didn't say I would bet him.
No, well,
that's a different.
Oh, okay. No, but isn't CMC's injury? Aren't his injuries more concerning than Hutchinson?
Absolutely. We're talking about double Achilles tendonitis. I mean, that's no joke. I mean, he can go down in any part of the season, and you need him to be 100% healthy if that team's going to have any success this year.
I don't think I'd go further down this board than Nick Chubb. If Joe Mixon doesn't play this whole weird stuff going on with Joe Mixon in Houston, how healthy he is. If Mixon's not going to play, and Nick Chubb off of all his injuries can run for 1,000 in Houston. But I don't think I believe in that happening. Well, because they can't block. And I don't know if
you're
Nick Chubb's
right.
good anymore.
And Nick Chubb lost a step. He's not the same player he was at the early part. But then if Ayuk comes back week 6 and is a 1,000-yard receiver, 75-1, you don't think that has as much value. I mean, he's going to be on a team that many think could challenge.
Darren Waller, 200 to 1?
No, come on. Darren Waller. The fact that the Dolphins
He's coming back from divorce.
Stop.
He's
the rap
Yeah.
song
that's a tough blow.
Yeah,
Retirement.
yeah. And the Dolphins took a shot on that guy. That's what they wanted as their tight end. Amazing.
No love for
Checked
you?
out. No, I would take a shot on Ayuk.
All right, let me get to
and maybe Tua, just if they get to the playoffs, but they're not.
The Protector of the Year award. It's nice that they've come up with this.
Mm-hmm.
Every team starts 5 offensive linemen, and we're going to give out 1 Protector of the Year. It seems a little silly. It's fine. Penny Sewell's the favorite. Lane Johnson, Trent Williams, Jordan Mailata are the others underneath the 10-1 marker.
Mm-hmm.
Does something jump out to you
Yeah,
here?
Alt, 15 to 1. Because we know he's gonna be in the lineup. He's gonna protect Justin Herbert, and they're gonna run the football down there everyone's throat with Amarion Hampton and Najee Harris. 15 to 1 would be the only player I bank here. I don't love it, but I can't back Penei Sewell. I can't back Lane Johnson. I think I told you. I think they preserve Saquon Barkley. They're gonna run it. But they're not going to run it as dominant. They got the Super Bowl already. Now they're going to rely on their MVP. They're going to be more balanced throughout the regular season and save it.
So this is the thing for me. It is so hard to tell. Are we going to get an award that gets handed out based on Pro Football Focus grade? Or is it going to be key guy on the top rush off?
Well, do we know? Do we basically have an idea?
It's supposed to be the best offensive lineman in football, but it's
too
just
objective for me.
It's just
it is. It's too objective. No, I'm serious though. MVP. All right, you go to the best quarterback. I mean, come on. We're going to be throwing numbers out. You had 4 pancakes in one game. Okay.
So that's what I'm trying to say is, at the end of a game, are we going to say Deion Dawkins graded out at a 92 in the matchup against the Jets, or the Buffalo Bills ran for 212 yards against the Jets, Deion Dawkins gained steam? Like, that's what I'm trying to – like, I think Chris Lindstrom on the Atlanta Falcons is tempting. He's the star of a Falcons team that's going to pound the rock with Bijan. He's 35 to 1. That's interesting.
It is. Creed Humphrey. I mean, you're talking 20 to 1. I mean, we know how Pat Mahomes got beat up. We know about the offensive line changes.
Full debate and switch on you, the book. Creed's in Chicago now, and they still have the KC logo next to him.
They screwed me. They screwed me. They screwed me when I looked at it quick. I looked at it quick. There you go.
They pulled the bait and switch on you.
There you go.
Listen, it happens.
Tunsil isn't bad with that.
With who?
Now I got to remember. Larry.
With Washington.
Washington, right.
I see. I even think like that is a fascinating thing. Like, what percentage of the credit?
Well, then, but why even bet? Like, it's tough to bet this type of market because, again, I don't believe in Detroit being as consistent.
Yeah,
I don't
agree.
believe in Philadelphia being as consistent and relying on the rushing attack. Now we leave it open to everybody out there. That's why I say if you're high on Harbaugh, right, and you're high on them to potentially be a 12-win football team, Joe Alt at 15 to 1, and they love him. He's every time they show Justin Herbert, they're showing Joe Alt. I'm just saying, I'm not going to be betting this and diving in. But it's not bad if you want to take a shot.
But I think, too, truly, like, it is very, very tricky to get Tristan Wirfs is sat here at 25 to 1. I think Tristan Wirfs is arguably the best offensive lineman in football.
And they're going to run it.
Right. He also might miss the first 4 weeks of the season. Does that matter in this award? Those are the kind of things that we're still trying to find out. We'll find out a little bit more after the break here on SportsGrid.
We all know nothing beats the energy of playing live roulette in a casino. But playing roulette online sure does have its perks. At the casino, you'll average 40 to 50 spins per hour. But online, you're looking at 100 to 150. The more spins, the more chance of wins. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
He said that was his decision, not a smart baseball play. Like, shut up, Dave. Like, you know what I mean? Like, really. If Ohtani wants to steal third base on his own, let him steal third base on his own, bro. Like, he's Shohei Ohtani. He made the call. He was wrong. He was out. Okay. I wouldn't have called him out for it.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid. This is the moment every fan waits for. The countdown's over. The road to kickoff has begun.
Play is here to stay.
I'm not going to name names, Kevin.
From win totals to player props, from division races to MVP debates, we've got eyes on every camp and data feeding 24/7, breaking down every angle across the league. Every pick, every edge, every line that matters. SportsGrid. Your road to kickoff starts now.
I know why you're here. I know why you're here as we close out this pro football today. It's for me to go hand up. That's on me. I Creed Humphrey and Joe Tooney crisscrossed. I did. Lisi said Creed Humphrey. I thought that was the guy who went to the Bears. Lisi, he just bent the knee. He's like, all right, guess it's him. I guess they all went to Chicago. It was Tooney. That's on me. And that's on me for giving you a tough time. Maybe the Protector of the Year award's not for us.
There you go. Creed Humphrey, 20-1. We got to bet it now.
You know what? I'm betting Creed and Tooney. One of these two are coming away with this thing. The one thing we didn't get to yet, just Joe, is the Rookie of the Year markets, and it's going to be really interesting to see how I think winning impacts, and we've talked about this for a lot of these awards, but I think it's super important because it's Offensive Rookie of the Year. We have quarterbacks in there. Right? And if Cam Ward can win, then he's going to win it. But those are not the expectations in Tennessee. And if that team ends up winning 5-6 games, we have an open award here. He's not even the favorite, but I think it is important to start with those Tennessee expectations.
Yeah, I mean, Cam Ward looked good in the limited preseason game. He looked poised. He looks like he's making the proper throws. He's handling it like a professional, and if Tennessee does get over the 5.5 win total, Cam Ward could put up those Jaden Daniels type of numbers. I just think it's very difficult with the limited, inexperienced wide receiver core. I'm not big on them, so they're going to really have to overexceed expectations in that aspect. But, I mean, we look at this list, and I think there is some value, but I think it's deep. We talk about – and now, let me just say this. Prior to the situation with Quinshon Judkins, and when he was selected by Cleveland, I was very high on him. He had like an 18 to 20-1 number, and the situation off the field has really taken him off the board. But if we're looking at Cleveland as a whole, we're looking at playmakers. Dylan Sampson at 50-1 can be that guy. He could be a workhorse. They could utilize him like Alvin Kamara did in his days in New Orleans. I think he's got great value. Caleb Johnson, now knowing how Pittsburgh wants to run the football, 33-1. He's a workhorse. You know, led the nation at one point last year for Iowa. And Loveland for Cleveland. How many times did we sit at this desk last year with Donnie? And we were betting Chicago games, and Caleb never went to the tight end. Now he's got a legitimate playmaker in Loveland that elevated Michigan. He was the most consistent wide receiver. You put him in that offense at 27-1. If he has a Brock Bowers type of year, I mean, why not?
Easy.
I'm just, here we go. I know.
No.
You love Caleb, though.
I do. I'm just saying.
No?
I still can't get over Brock Bowers not getting consideration for Offensive Rookie of the Year last year.
Okay.
You know, because instead they gave it again to the other guy. Could you believe he keeps winning these awards without deserving it? Let me bring up the Defensive Rookie of the Year race while
I can't even get a word in on that. Go ahead. Go to the defensive play. Go ahead.
I'll say this.
Go ahead.
I know you love value, and I know you love going down the board.
Mm-hmm.
It's a tough task to sell me on anyone other than Abdul Carter winning Defensive Rookie of the Year. It's a
Mikael
tough
Williams.
task. All right. Sold.
There you go. I mean, if Michael Williams can get and they can get back to where they were from that front seven in San Francisco, he could put up huge numbers. Huge. I mean, dominant run stuffer. As long as he's healthy, he will be a Jared Verse type of player. And if you remember, I said Jared Verse last year. I'm taking 19th. He could be that type of player. They took two players to make up, him and Fisk, to make up for the loss of Aaron Donald. Williams could be that game changer. And we keep sitting here, right? 2 years ago, if this was the draft, he would have been taken first overall potentially.
Well, I understand that. So that's why I'm interested in a guy like Williams and a guy like Pierce. The problem is I don't think any of them were going in front of Abdul Carter. Like, I still can't believe Cleveland passed up the opportunity to put Abdul Carter and Myles Garrett on the same defensive line. That still, to me, is just like Mason Graham? You want Mason Graham at 16? I don't think so.
No,
you want Will Johnson at 30? One more time in the desert?
I'll tell you what. I think Walter Nolan with Arizona could have a big year.
Other desert.
Other
option in the desert. All right.
I think he could have a big year, and if he plays the way he did in Oxford, huge value.
I am very interested, just because you brought it up with the Kyle Hamilton ball hawk. I just wonder if Starks and Hamilton are able to roam free, and you see a gaudy interception season in Baltimore. That's the NFL awards. The countdown to the NFL season continues. For Joe Lisi, I'm Kevin Walsh. We'll see you next time.
Every fan waits for. The countdown's over. The road to kickoff has begun.
Play is here to stay.
I'm not going to name names, Kevin.
From win totals to player props, from division races to MVP debates, we've got eyes on every camp and data feeding 24/7, breaking down every angle across the league. Every pick, every edge, every line that matters. SportsGrid. Your road to kickoff starts now.
He is not Derrick Henry. He is not one of those special backs in that sense. A really good one that's been outstanding in fantasy for quite some time. But you can also hear the buzz recently about it being more of a split backfield. And if that's so, then Aaron Jones' value takes a hit, Jordan Mason's value goes up, and there's an opportunity at some point, if Aaron Jones misses time, where you can see Jordan Mason take that backfield over.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
It's a safe shot, pin high left with a 6-iron. And then this is where JJ enters the fray again and hits this like slice 5-iron. That was just, I mean, it curved probably a good, 30, 40 feet, almost flies in the hole. And it was just a crazy shot because nobody would ever really try to hit that type of slider.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
An HRR, parlay, a combo that you want to do. I generally prefer away teams and players that hit at the top of the lineup or in the top half, just because you are guaranteed just that extra plate appearance here or there. How many times, throughout the season, I've been like, listen, if this guy gets on, he will have one more at bat in the 9th inning. And if he doesn't get there, there. If you just take them that place higher, you're going to be in a spot to cash that bag.
Pro Baseball Today, only on